Welcome to another episode of your favorite podcast that releases once a decade.
Not once a decade.
Once as needed. The Bible released once. We've been using it ever since. So, welcome to A Product of Proverbs. This is your host, Joshua Fowler, joined by your host,
Roy Fowler.
And we're here to share our life lessons and wisdom that we've gained from this journey using the book of Proverbs as a North Star, but also using what we've gone through in real life as the actual footsteps in the sand that you can follow to reach the promised land. So let's kick off where we left off at the last episode. It ain't just fighting a circumstance that exists right now. It's a mentality. They ain't gonna do right in this, and then they gonna get 100,000 subscribers, and then they're not gonna hire a lawyer. They're not gonna do right in that because they just do. And then you think, all right, well then they're gonna sign some contracts, and they didn't get that lawyer, and then they're gonna be stuck in something, and they're gonna get sued, or maybe they don't. Maybe then they grow and they don't get a lawyer. Then they sign a deal and they get a lawyer and an agency, and somewhere down the line, not being diligent gonna cost you. Somewhere you ain't gonna be paying attention, or you have done skipped something or not did something right. It's gonna come back to bite you.
Yeah.
Remember before we painted over right here where it said carelessness over the light switch? Yeah.
Carelessness?
You may be right, carelessness.
Why do that?
Because I backed into the neighbor's mailbox and I wasn't paying attention. And then I'd imagine as an adult, especially having my car backed into, not paying attention a couple of days ago, having my car backed into and knowing like, all right, now I need to pay for that. I have to fix a mailbox. I'm going to have to fix a car tail light. I'm going to have to do all this stuff that, whatever. Whatever.
We replaced 2 mailboxes for a while.
Mailbox on the wrong side of the road. Shouldn't replace nothing. That should have been a sign. Hey, look, big dog, the mailbox keep getting hit because it's the only mailbox in the whole zip code on the wrong side of the driveway. I ain't replacing nothing. Put it where it's supposed to be. Whatever. Where are we at on this list of stuff? Forget the list. Who cares? You can put that on Do Not Disturb.
What you mean do not disturb? Is that different from silent?
Uh-huh. Don't let no
How you do it?
There you go.
Okay, I've never done that before. Helpful.
Yep. Oh, you don't understand peace, Leroy. My phone lives on Do Not Disturb.
So what don't come up when you got on Do Not Disturb?
Nothing at all. It has to be you, Mom, Daniel, or Matthew calling me for me to get a notification. If I don't want to look at my phone, I don't look at my phone. And when I look at my phone, I check the messages or check my emails or check whatever, but I don't like my phone calling attention to me. I don't like a sound. I don't like laptops or anything like that. Like I'll check when I need to check, but you don't get my attention when you just want it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Try to control some of those type of things. So yeah, my phone, and that gets me into some trouble because I'm the worst texter that exists, and even timely messages. Oftentimes you'll miss a timely message. It's like, hey, I'm out. What's your size? Or hey, do you need anything? If I don't text you back for 45 minutes, you back home.
Mm-hmm.
So what? I guess I didn't need it that bad. Rather that than I was doing something, I got a ding, I'm going to text back, no, I'm good, I don't need nothing. Now I done got distracted. Now I'm going to sit on my phone for 45 minutes doing other stuff since my phone in my hand. So I try to limit my screen time. I have a weird philosophy. Crazy for me not being a parent of nothing, having parenting philosophies, but I feel like people should live the life that you want your kids to live. So if your kids have to go to bed by 10 p.m., why don't you have to go to bed by 10 p.m.? If it's good for them, it's probably good for you. If your kids aren't going to be able to watch TV or have screen time,
shouldn't either.
You shouldn't either. If your kids are going to have to eat vegetables and they're not going to be able to eat McDonald's, why should you eat McDonald's? I forgot when that clicked in my brain. So it's like anything that I'm doing, you wouldn't want your kids to say, but you don't do it. I think it clicked because if something happens and the kid is now on its way or here or something, you don't just get to flip a switch and say, well, my habits and my lifestyle and how I live and what I do, that's what it was, and now it's not. You'll mess around and bring all that negative stuff into the kid phase too if you don't stop those habits before a kid is there. So let's say that I eat McDonald's every day for dinner. And I'm saying, all right, well, when I have a kid, I'm not going to eat McDonald's. Yes, you are. There's nothing that's going to say that day happened and now you're going to stop doing stuff. So that was my thought process behind that. I forgot when it happened, but it's like, nah, because also don't want to throw your life out of whack. You don't want to have a routine and you live a certain way, do certain things, move around, and now a kid is here and you're going to have to go through those changes on top of new kid changes. Like, no, have everything kind of in place so that when a kid comes into your life, it just comes into your life. You don't have to build a new life around the kid if everything's been in place right. Is that off? Is that ridiculous?
No, it's not ridiculous. It sounds kind of a good way to think. Because then you won't have to make a whole... But it's going to be some major adjustments now. It's going to be some major adjustments, but I don't think that's a bad way to think because it won't be as many adjustments. Because you're going to find there's going to be a major adjustment when a kid comes in.
I know it's going to be adjustments, but I think also it's funny, but like Planned Parenthood, it's probably a little easier and the adjustments can be managed a little better when you're planning parenthood, even down to planning like your partner in parenthood. Saying like a lot of people can get caught up in tricky situations when it's a little more unplanned and you don't know how location's gonna work out. You don't know how career.
I agree.
Like you have to plan every aspect of it. So maybe it's a lot more thinking coming when at 30. And honestly, the title for this list of topics was 30 for 30. I can't do 30 for 30, I think, because ESPN owns that as a series.
Right.
Something around there, 30 under 30, something like the Forbes list that they do. Tangent. I hate these lists and I'm getting tired of y'all. I forgot the name of the Instagram page it used to be, but it was like a magazine or something. And they do a profile on you as a business, as a whatever, as a person. It looks so official and so legit. And it's just basically a pay-for-play, write a profile for somebody. It's not like you don't really even have to have a substantial business or substantial impact or substantial resume or anything. It's just like, oh, we can get you a profile if you want a profile. And I just don't like that. I don't know why. Like the Forbes Fund 30 under 30 or 40 under 40 list, all of these. Like Georgia Tech and Georgia State email me every year and say nominate someone for these lists. I can just nominate my friends. I could email one of my people like, hey, I've written up this nomination. Can you nominate me for this list? I want to throw this on the resume. If they ask every year, and it's like, I know some people that get them, the steps after you get them, the different fundraising, the different things. Just don't go chasing waterfalls. Stick to the rivers and lakes that you're used to because the Hollywood star, they have to pay for that. That's a thing. They don't just say, yes, you've done enough, here's your star. Like, that's a whole thing you have to pay for. And then what if you don't even value that?
Mm-hmm.
What if you don't want people walking on your name? What did Michael Irvin say on the It Is What It Is sports show? He was like, I don't want them to retire my jersey. If they retire my jersey, they put it in the rafters. The day that you transition, they say, look, Irvin was a good player. Back to the game. Other than that, they don't talk about it. He's like, but they didn't retire my jersey, so every Sunday when 88 catches the ball, they say, oh, that looked like Irvin. When he drops the pass, they say, Irvin wouldn't have dropped that. They say, I get to live on forever. That person in the rafters, he lives once. And then they forget about it until that annual ceremony. So, guess it just depends on your perception.
Yeah, your perception.
This episode is going to be named Perception is Reality. Anywhere, everywhere.
Nowhere.
All right, let's see. Where was we at? Oh, yeah. Before I went on a tangent, if y'all heard a lot of metal, that was the sound of a 40-year-old film camera. Dad recently found a Canon AE1 program, a 35mm camera that he bought over 40 years ago. Now I'm in possession of this relic that is actually fully functional, so can't wait to get this film developed. The first roll that's in it is how many years old? How many millions of years?
I don't know, but it's pretty old.
Millions and millions of years.
I forgot when I
old.
stopped taking pictures, though. But it was a long time ago. It was way before y'all were here.
So I'm excited to see what type of, they said, effects.
So that was a go-to camera back then. My first camera was a Pentax K1000. I wish I still had it. But then I bought that camera after I bought that. Because I wanted the automatic, and Canon was the going camera at the time. But yeah, and what was you was talking about? I don't know how that subject came up.
Photography, because we were talking because Mom is always photography. You know, she's taking pictures at the church. She's taking pictures of our golf outing. We'll get to the golf outing too.
Oh, I remember. And then I said I used to take pictures too.
Mm-hmm.
Then I started naming the cameras I had and the things I did.
And that Pentax, I actually started Googling that Pentax and this Canon, like, are still both, like, reputable and traded cameras because 35 millimeter film, I guess it's one of those things where you're using an older technology. You don't care about all that. You know, like, you don't need all the megapixels, all the autofocus. It's like, I'm shooting on film, big dog. Like, let me enjoy the art. It's almost even better that it's like, this is a solid camera. When I looked up the reviews on it, they were saying, like, this was used in photography schools and this was used in film schools because the students, they knew it was so reliable. Like, when I picked it up, the first thing I said was, this is real metal. Like, it's a hunk of steel is what they said. So you can feel a little more confident using it because, like, if I had a 40-year-old Rolex, that's going in the safe because I know those little parts are so brittle in the movement, and even it's going to be so valuable. I'm going to send it to Rolex. They're going to refinish it. The value is in it being original 40 years old, but that's not going to work well. This is 40 years old and expected to work as day one. So that's cool to have something vintage that's usable. And I think of this roll of film, I've probably taken like 5 or 6 shots since I was able to find the right battery for it. And assuming, and from everything I can see so far, the shutter's working, the lenses work, everything's functional. Setting the aperture and like exposure, like it all works. Cool, and won't need a new lens. It has that fixed 50 millimeter lens on it, so I like that too because all the kit lenses with DSLRs come with like variable zooms. Mm-hmm. So you can get into 18 millimeters, you can get all the way out to 75, but the real art is taking the 35 or 50 and you positioning the camera to get the shot, not positioning the lens to like make it seem like it's the shot. I've already noticed that in the first couple shots is you actually have to play around with your positioning and then play around with the setting once you're in position because the setting for right here ain't the setting for over here. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be fun. That's going to be a fun hobby if the Porch Pirates didn't get my care package that Amazon was supposed to send.
Yeah, I hadn't got a notice yet.
It's funny, we like to support small businesses, and I think this is going to be a natural lead into our money section of the podcast, but you support small business and entrepreneurs, you rip and run around, wasting gas, wasting time to find a camera store, a local camera store, because they should have stuff that, you know, Walmart, Best Buy won't have. They're camera enthusiasts. Can you believe these people had the nerve to tell me you can find that on Amazon? I did not drive over 30 miles all over the place to look for something that I can spend my money, receive my product, and support the local economy for y'all to tell me Prime got free 2-day shipping.
Wow. At least they told you since they didn't have it.
And realistically, could have called. Luckily, we were just out and about bouncing around Buckhead for the day, so it wasn't bad. We were going to be in the area anyways, but it's the principle of a small business saying, go to Amazon, and then go be crying when they go out of business. Amazon took all the business.
Yeah, they should have said that they would get it for you and send it to you.
Right? And then they went to Amazon, ordered it one day, charged me $6 more, put it in USPS, and me thinking that they did me a solid.
I didn't think about that the other day, but they should have done that.
It's just your mentality, if you're service-based, or if you're solution-based, or if you just leave me alone.
What kind of camera store was it? I mean, what was it?
It was, I don't want to
name.
shout them out. I do want to shout them out. Actually, I'm going to shout them out and give an honest review that I didn't put on Google. Hey, this store musty. I'm going to keep it real with you, Leroy. It was...
Come on now, you can't do that.
Nah, this store was musty. It's in Lenox Mall.
We're going to get canceled.
I don't care. Cancel me. I didn't sign nothing to say that I can't tell my true experience about this store. I wish I knew their name. I would tell y'all.
I'm glad you don't.
Up top, Bloomingdale's, the kid entrance, little video store. They're really there for like drones.
What about the fact they didn't know where the battery was?
Yeah, all right. I got to slow walk this dog. So we go into this store. They're clearly dealing with hard times in the economy because they're saving money on AC. They're saving money on AC. It's a little hot in there. When it's a little hot and your toes out, yeah, their toes was out. So
Lord,
it's a little hot, your toes out, summertime. But I get it. It's just a lot going on. So environment was one thing. Now we get into subject matter expertise. So they get the camera. I'm like, yeah, battery. I've downloaded the owner's manual. I haven't looked at the owner's manual yet. It's on my phone in files. And I'm like, yeah, just a battery for this. I know the number of the battery. They're like, oh yeah. They grab a screwdriver and start unscrewing this thing on the bottom. To their defense, the size of the battery and where a battery looked like it should go was in that spot. But as I pull up the owner's manual while they're unscrewing, turns out that's where the electric motor to wind the film is at. So they're unscrewing into something. I quickly have to, like, give me my camera back. We'll solution this, but what we're going to do is put that cap back on, the camera in my hands, and we'll figure the rest of this out together. So yeah, that camera store in Lenox Mall, I'm pretty sure if you have a drone, great people. If you have a digital camera, great people. If you're not sensitive to sense, great people. If you need a film camera or anything worked on around film, I'd probably skip it. The net of this is we went to a mustard store, they didn't have what we had. But let's go into entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship seems to be a lot of flim-flam to me as of late. And I understand that everyone can't do career. I think everyone naturally does a career. If you do a bunch of jobs, your jobs usually line up in some type of path. That's what your career was. That's what your career is. Like if you bounced around, you might have had a career in retail because you worked at this retail place, that retail place, this. You find the industry or vertical. And like the guy I played golf with the other day, he's like, yeah, I ended up working in hospitality. It's like I was a chef. I worked for Hyatt Hotels. I worked for Marriott Hotels. And I ended up working for KSU. But he's in hospitality was his career, even though, as he said, like when he was doing it, he was just working jobs.
That's the way he saw it.
That's the way he saw it, was I was just working jobs. But now that I'm retired, this is what my career was in. We end up with the career. But some of y'all seem to have a career and not having no job. Labeled as entrepreneurship.
A career in not having a job?
Yes. Career entrepreneurs. Where's the financial statements? Because I think that these entrepreneurship ventures are just reasons to not work no job. I'm sorry.
But how is that? But aren't they doing something?
You tell me. I'm sorry. This product of Proverbs is after I turned 30 years old, and I can only imagine how people, you know how they say, oh man, when I'm 60, when I'm 70, I'm going to say whatever on my mind. I can't even imagine what that's like with me speaking my mind now at 30, because you got to call a spade, dog. I completely understand wanting to have hobbies and extra streams of income that you might take a hobby and turn it profitable, or not even profitable, but create income from it. Because additional streams of income isn't additional streams of profit. A lot of times, if you can get that extra $1,000 a month, at the end of the year, it might have cost you $1,500 a month, but you got to use that $1,000 of income. Figure it out with the tax lady later. But I think it's additional streams of income. If you ain't having no income, what are we doing? Never made a single dime. Might have had some business activity, potential contracts. Might have had a signed contract that fell through. Might have had a business plan. Legit accounting. You have records of formation. You have an accountant that files it. Like you have all these things. You can't label yourself an entrepreneur or a business person if you ain't doing no business stuff. Admin ain't business. You can create an Instagram page in 15 seconds and have a business page and a business profile. But
yeah,
at what point are we going to draw the line and say, entrepreneurship should be reserved for entrepreneurs and people that are going to be serious about it? There are people that have careers they're career entrepreneurs. There are people that have careers of, I started this business venture, it didn't work. I started this business venture, it didn't work. They don't even have to be in the same vertical. I tried this service business, it didn't work. I tried this retail business, it didn't work. I tried this wholesale business, it didn't work. But at some point, it's like, where you work at, how you survive. And I think that I'm speaking in this segment to the younger kids that's on Instagram looking at successful entrepreneurs. There's far less of them than exists. So when we look at the mental health issues that come because you feel like you should have access to things, you look at what you feel like you should be experiencing when that's not reality. It's not a reality thing. And I usually end up being pessimistic, like we were talking about earlier when we talk about entrepreneurship and entrepreneurs. But like, it's a mindset. To call back to the story that started this, like, they could have just came up on like $15 profit. I was with an Amex. I was going to pay whatever they said. They could have ordered me some film reels. They could have ordered me a case. They could have said, we got whatever you need, and been behind there just making a fake receipt and sending me an Amazon order. Or they could have just let us walk out the store, don't make a sale. Now we on this podcast talking bad about them. It's two different ways. As an entrepreneur, are you going to be willing to do whatever it takes to make money and make a career out of what you're doing? Or do you just want the profile and the title? Are you service-based? Are you solution-based? Are you adding value to someone else other than your own ego? Are you, about taxes? Are you prepared to make $100 and owe $30 about your benefits? The company, if you make $100, the company usually pays $20 for certain benefits. You owe $20 for the benefits because the company ain't there to pay for them. Health, dental, retirement, these things. So now you made $100, you owe $30 in taxes, you owe $20 for the benefits. They already said we have to work twice as hard to get half as much. You need to work 4 times as hard.
I do agree with that entrepreneurial spirit. I do think it's important, and that's one of the driving forces of our economy. But I think what happens, Joshua, is that people don't do the legwork. They don't do the proper research. They get an idea, a bright idea of something they want to do or think they want to do without even knowing what it entails. I think before a person starts a business, they should work in that business to see how it really is, because it might not be something you want to do once you get into it and start doing it. I do know sometimes people just don't want to really work a job, and so they won't look real bad. That's one of the things. Now, I'm not a fan of that, but some people do that because I ain't gonna work for nobody.
I'm going to tell you something. I know real entrepreneurship, and I tell this to anyone. That's going to be Jason's lawn service, because that's real entrepreneurship.
When I was talking about it, but I wasn't going to call his name.
I wake up in the morning, I get on the truck, and I go. I have clients. I do marketing. I do accounting. I do invoicing. I mix the chemicals myself to treat yards. That's not, I started an Instagram page.
No.
I cut your yard for $25.
Not at all. He started with the company. He learned the job. He learned the business. And then he ventured out on his own. And he's been very successful.
And that wasn't the first time. I think
he's got that spirit.
Personal training.
And he was successful at that as well.
And the whole thing is that entrepreneurial spirit it's not, I don't want to work no job, because he worked 4 times as hard.
Oh, yes.
As a personal trainer and doing his own service, as if he would have just sat in somebody's Crunch Fitness. He could have did a quarter of the work.
And he did that too, see.
But it was learning.
He was learning the business.
It wasn't, I'm doing this because this is what I do. It's, I'm doing this because I need to see what y'all do. I need to see how y'all move. It's that intention. And that's the entrepreneur spirit. That's career.
Yeah.
Career entrepreneur versus y'all that is career, start a new Instagram page. I'm speaking to the young kids. Don't do it. I've seen the other side. In Texas, working with the youth out there, they don't think like that. They're thinking like, I need to work for someone, learn the trade, I can start my own business. The 14-year-old that said, I want to be a civil engineer, there's not an Instagram page, I'm an entrepreneur, for I'm a civil engineer. There isn't even I'm a civil engineer before there's years of school. Versus when I get to talking around here, it's like, oh, I want to be a streamer, or I want to be in the NBA, or what you going to do if not? Oh, I want to own my own business. I can do this, I can do that. At what point will someone pay you for what you do? Because that's going to be the end-all, be-all before I wrap up my entrepreneurship soapbox is profits and loss. When you think about, and actually this might be a way to transition into personal finance and our other money topics, but